Good afternoon. This is Chris Lancy at the Tropical Analysis and Forecast branch of the National Hurricane Center in Miami with your Tropical Atlantic Marine Weather Briefing for Thursday, September 26th at 5 p.m., valid through Tuesday, October 1st. An overview of the situation. We have three systems of interest. The first and foremost, of course, is Hurricane Helene, which is currently a Category 3 in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. We also have an Invest 98 in the eastern Atlantic, forecast to reach the central Atlantic. And we have a disturbance in the western Caribbean that may spin up over the next several days. So Hurricane Helene, as of 4 p.m. Eastern Time, reached Category 3, 105 knots, while it was west-southwest of Tampa. You can see the very large tropical storm wind field in orange. It extends as much as 300 miles from the center, and even the hurricane force winds extend 50 miles from the center. The forecast has it moving toward the north, increasing in forward speed, making landfall tonight, that would be Thursday night, as either a Category 3 or 4 hurricane. It'll continue inland, but then as it's rapidly weakening, it'll slow down, and that's going to contribute to extreme rainfall and perhaps flash floods and mudslides. So because of this, on the coast and inland, we have significant storm surge, significant wind, and flooding, and even tornado hazards for this particular system. In addition to Hurricane Helene, we have two other systems in our area of responsibility. There's also Tropical Storm Isaac, but that's north of our waters, well north of 31 north latitude. So we are monitoring AL98, which is a tropical wave over the eastern Caribbean. It does have a very high chance, 90%, of becoming a tropical cyclone in the next 2 days. While it moves toward the west, northwest, or northwest afterwards. Finally, there is an area in the northwest and southwest Caribbean that may form, but unlikely over the next 5 days. So looking at wind and wave conditions from this morning at 12 UTC on Thursday, we have Hurricane Helene over the Gulf of Mexico. We also have Tropical Storm Isaac, again, well north of our waters. And here is that AL98, that Invest, which is a tropical wave, just entering our waters at about 37 west. You can see the area of 12-foot seas or greater, which is the yellow to red, associated with Hurricane Helene, with peak seas today about 40 feet in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. And then there's 8 to 10 foot seas with that Invest AL98. Forecast conditions for 12 UTC on Friday. Hurricane Helene will be moving northward, and winds and seas over the Gulf of Mexico will recede very quickly tomorrow morning. But at the same time, we'll have enhanced winds and seas just east of northeast Florida in our waters with tropical storm conditions. Accompanying that, you still have seas to 12 to 13 feet in the northeast Gulf of Mexico that are going to be receding very quickly. And then winds and seas had ramped up, producing seas up to 15 feet just south of 31 north latitude tomorrow morning. And then finally, the Invest AL98, which may be a tropical storm by then, it will be at about 42 west longitude, producing seas up to 10 to 12 feet. In 48 hours, which will be Saturday at UTC, the only feature of interest at this point is Invest AL98. Our forecast assumes that it's going to still be at most 30 knots and seas 11 to 12 feet. However, it's possible that if we do start advisories, that the system would be quite a bit stronger. At this point on Saturday morning, it's anticipated that the center would be near 19 north and about 47 west. 72-hour forecast for Sunday morning at 12 UTC. Again, that potential tropical cyclone, AL98, would be at this point at about 20 north and 49 west longitude, and seas that we're forecasting of 8 to 10 feet. Again, could be quite a bit stronger for winds and higher waves if we commence advisories. 96 hours, you still have that area of low pressure. Could be a tropical cyclone at that point. At this point, we're suggesting it would be starting to weaken, and peak winds here only a strong breeze to near gale in the northeast quadrant. And finally, by 120 hours, this would be Tuesday morning, UTC, 12 UTC. At this point, that system is devolved into a trough of low pressure and peak seas, fresh to strong breeze with seas 8 to 10 feet. So to summarize, some very impactful weather with major Hurricane Helene ongoing today and tonight. That's Thursday night, with winds forecast to reach 115 knots, which would be Category 4, before making landfall in the Big Bend area of Florida. This is a very large hurricane. Tropical storm force winds extend as much as 300 miles from the center. Seas are likely about 40 feet right now over the northeastern Gulf of Mexico, which are tremendous. And 12-foot seas cover about half the Gulf of Mexico today. Winds and seas are expected to increase briefly over the Atlantic off of the northeast Florida coast tomorrow or Friday. But then both the Gulf will diminish tomorrow morning and the Atlantic will diminish by Saturday morning. In addition to Helene, we're watching AL98, which is a tropical wave in the east and central Atlantic. Very likely to become a tropical storm in the next day or two. Currently, we're forecasting winds of max only 30 knots and seas of 12 feet. However, if we commence advisories, those winds and seas will need to be boosted significantly. And finally, the disturbance in the Western Caribbean not expected to develop in the next 5 days. So again, this is your Tropical Atlantic Marine Weather Briefing. Next briefing will be issued by 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Sunday, September 29th. You can always get the latest information on hurricanes.gov/marine. Be safe.